Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Nick here, the wife Meli, of course, and it's another beautiful morning at Harbour Island. Look at that day, look at that view. Sadly, it's also our last day in Harbour Island. You know, today we're flying back to Nassau, but it's been a good trip. It's been a great trip. I'm happy I got to show Meli Harbour Island, but
I know, it's been beautiful.
yeah, and so flying around and getting around these islands can be a little bit interesting sometimes, taking small airplanes. The airports you fly in and out of are tiny, and it's a cool way to travel, and in my opinion it's a lot more exciting than going to a major airport and hopping on a big Boeing or Airbus. Like on the right here, I think we flew in a 1960s Beechcraft 99, which was cool. It was like a blast from the past. And so this video, we're going to kind of show y'all how to get from Harbour Island to Nassau and what flying around small Bahamian airlines is like. Our airline of choice for today is Flamingo Air.
No, Pineapple.
Pineapple Air, sorry, Pineapple. We flew here on Southern Air, which flew in a Flamingo Air airplane. And so today we're doing Pineapple Air. That's right. And so it's really, really interesting. I think y'all will kind of enjoy how basic these Bahamian airlines are, and then take it through our day. And you know, Nassau was staying at Margaritaville for a night. And yeah, but first things first, it's early. We're gonna get some coffee, get some breakfast, because we really don't have a long day of travel ahead of us. But our flight happens to be right around lunchtime, and so we're probably not gonna be able to eat lunch until we get to Margaritaville around 2 to 3 o'clock. And so we're gonna get a nice breakfast to hold us over. So we're gonna go back to that coffee place we went to yesterday, Bahamas Coffee Roasters. I like that place a lot better than the Coco's Coffee Bar. Just because it's all more Bahamas to me. It's a lot more like the Abacos. You know, the Coco's is something you'd find in Miami. That's not why I personally come to the Bahamas. And yesterday we went there and they were closed. They still made us coffee, but they were closed, so we didn't get to actually eat any of the breakfast. And so today we're gonna go actually eat the breakfast there. And so let's go do that, and then it's travel time. We're all packed up, and we're gonna show you how to get to the airport here. When you have to take a ferry, then a taxi from the ferry dock to the airport, hop on the tiny little airplane over in Nassau, then get another taxi there to get to it's
a whole experience.
A lot of moving parts, and it's a lot more in-depth than a lot of travel around the United States and what we are used to, but it's cool and it keeps travel interesting. But I'm rambling on. Let's go get some breakfast. Here's a quick look at the inside of the coffee shop. It's very simple, but very Bahamian. It almost reminds me a little bit of Flo's, but ever so slightly nicer on the inside. Just really awesome, and it's really Meli and I's vibe. I got myself a breakfast burrito, while Meli got herself a little bit of avocado toast with an egg on top, and overall just a really good breakfast and a really good way to start the morning. But we gotta head back to the house and get all packed up because we have a flight to catch. We made it back to the house, and when we walked in, all of the smoke alarms were going off because whoever was cooking breakfast clearly burnt the hell out of whatever they were cooking. Before we go, please take one last look at the view that we had from this house. We're sitting on the dock of the house. Just look at this. Yeah, that's the house up there. Just an absolutely stunning place, and you know, obviously this channel is nowhere near the size where we get asked to come stay in this thing. Hopefully one day, but so obviously, you know, this is 100% my own experience here. But if you are looking for a house on Harbour Island, I cannot recommend this one enough. The house itself is gorgeous. It's got a big lawn. It's private. The location is awesome. It has a dock, so if you bring a boat, you can have a dock space for the boat. Just a really awesome house. I am gonna go ahead and put the link to the Airbnb or VRBO listing to it in the description here in case y'all are interested. I highly recommend it, and it is expensive, but for Harbour Island, I think the price is very competitive. I think the name of the little thing is Sunset Harbor, and the particular house is Seabreeze. But any of the, I think those 3 or 4 houses in Sunset Harbor are stunning. You have housekeepers there every day. The landscaping's perfect. It's on the water. The views are awesome. Just really awesome place. Once we walk back up there, I'll give you, one last little look at the house. But I highly recommend it. But that about wraps up our Harbour Island time, because it's just about time for us to go and finish packing and get onto the ferry dock. And so that's your first step in getting back to Nassau, is you have to get to the ferry dock here on Harbour Island, which is that way, which for y'all, that's the north side of the island. And then from there, they have ferries pretty much that constantly run to the ferry dock on North Eleuthera, because the North Eleuthera airport is the airport that you fly out of and back. And so basically we're gonna get dropped off at the ferry dock, wait until the ferry's going, get on the ferry. Ferry's gonna take us to the North Eleuthera ferry dock, and then we get a cab to the airport. But we're gonna show you all that. And yeah, so let's get packed up and let's get our stuff to the ferry dock. I know it's a sad day, but you know the beauty of it is that we're back here all the time. So we're gonna be back here in literally like 3 weeks. So not in Harbour Island, in Treasure Key, but it's still the Bahamas. And I love Harbour Island. I could come spend, you know, a week, 2 weeks here, but Treasure, yeah, Treasure's home. I much prefer Treasure, and I miss Treasure. And so, but I'm rambling on. Let's get packed up and get to the ferry dock. Before leaving, I want to give y'all one last look at just how beautiful this house and property is. That's the view looking out over the bay in between North Eleuthera and Harbour Island. Turning around and walking up to the house, you can see just how stunning it is, with big covered balconies, a swimming pool. There's a dining area outside as well. And then as we move in here in a second, you'll see the inside of the house. It's very open. It's built for entertaining. It's got a big dining room, a big living room, a big kitchen. Just overall, an extremely nice house, and that if any of you guys are ever going to Harbour Island and looking for a place to stay, I highly recommend looking up Sunset Harbor.
On our way to the airport, well, no, to the ferry dock.
Yes, sadly, time to go. And so on the way to the ferry dock and coming from the house, which is between Remora Bay and Valentine's, you got to go north. The ferry dock's north, kind of in the main little town area. So we'll head there. You know, we're going to show you the drive there, and then also the ferry dock itself. So sadly, let's go leave.
Oh, no.
Not a fun day. When we made it to the ferry dock, we didn't have to wait long because there was already a ferry that was getting ready to leave that had some extra space on it for Meli and I and our bags. It's a short ride from this, you know, public dock, ferry dock over in Harbour Island over to the North Eleuthera ferry dock that takes you to the airport. But it's an enjoyable one, and because it's in the bay, it's always pretty calm, so it's a really nice ride. Arriving at the North Eleuthera ferry dock, these captains waste absolutely zero time between one boat leaving and another boat arriving. For them, time is money, and so they make the best of it. And I will say, these captains are extremely good at what they do. But we got off the ferry, and there was a taxi sitting here waiting for us, so we hopped in the taxi and headed on towards the airport. We made it to the North Eleuthera airport, and as you can see, the check-in room at this airport is very small. Every one of the airlines that flies in and out of this airport has its desk in this little room for its guests to check in and out. I kind of like it. I think it adds that Bahamian out island feel. It reminds you that you're in a small island, in a small island nation in the, you know, North Caribbean, if you want to call it that. It's pretty cool, and I enjoy it. But once you check in and go through security, you actually walk outside and walk down to these trailers, which are set up as the pre-boarding area. There are kind of 3 distinct rooms in that trailer with a bunch of chairs in it, and you pretty much just sit there and wait. And then when your flight arrives, somebody will come in and tell you that, you know, the Southern airplane has arrived to Nassau. If this is your flight, it's time for you to go outside. And so this is our plane arriving right there. You can see it's a tiny little plane, but as I said earlier in this video, I really like traveling the Bahamas by these little propeller airplanes. I think it adds to that island feel, and it's just super, super cool. This is a really old Beechcraft. I don't know the exact model, but it's some turboprop commercial passenger plane, or whatever you want to call it. But either way, you can see it's a pretty small plane. There's 1 seat on either side of the aisle. Overall, really, really cool. Flying in these small planes over the Bahamas where the flights are really short and you're flying at a pretty low altitude gives you an insane view of all the islands and the shallow water that the Bahama has to offer. It truly is a very special place. It's, as far as I know, probably the only place in the world that has such a vast area of super shallow bank water, 20 feet depths maximum. And so flying from above, you see every sandbar and shift in the sand and rock pile and coral formation. It's just extremely cool. And if you ever get the chance to fly low and slow over the Bahamas, I highly recommend it. It is one of the most beautiful flights you'll ever have in your life. After the short flight, we made it over to Nassau, and as we're on final approach here, you can see exactly what I'm talking about. As we turn down the runway here, you can see every coral head and piece of rock and whatever it might be in the water along the beach. Just super awesome, and it's something you can find in very few places in the world. We made it to Nassau, and as with all of these small airlines that fly around the Bahamas, you don't board the planes with a jetway. They just land on the tarmac and you take stairs down from the plane onto the tarmac and walk into the airport. But since this was not an international flight, we luckily didn't have to clear customs or anything, so we're just waiting on our bags. And then we're heading out of the airport and getting a taxi, which is very easy in Nassau because they always have a bunch of taxis waiting out front of the airport with somebody there that's kind of telling you where to go and what taxi is going to take you to where you want to go. But you can see Meli and I got one here, and flying that little plane around the Bahamas has me motivated. So here I am looking at controller.com to see what kind of deals on different little small planes I can have to fly around the Bahamas in one day. And we made it to the Margaritaville Hotel, which I don't know if I mentioned this before in this video, but it's where we usually stay when we're passing through Nassau. Like, yes, Atlantis or Baha Mar is nicer, but both of those places require a multiple minimum. I think it's like a 3 to 4 night minimum stay, and this one is a 1 night minimum stay, and we're just here for 1 night. And when we're just passing through, this is an absolutely gorgeous hotel. It's perfect. It's relatively cost effective. The view is awesome. We're on the 3rd floor, so not too high up, but you get to watch the cruise ships go in and out. I mean, look at this hotel room. It's very nice. It's your typical Margaritaville Jimmy Buffett theme, but it's a Margaritaville hotel. I don't know exactly what else you would expect, but it's a really nice hotel. For passing through Nassau, I highly, highly recommend it. Look at that. And so it's 1 o'clock. We got here a lot earlier than we thought, and both of us are hungry. And our plane took off way early, and so we're here quite a bit early. We weren't expecting to get lunch until a little bit later, but we're here. So I think we're gonna go down to the little pool bar thing they have down and grab a quick lunch, and hang out, grab a drink, and enjoy the view. So we're gonna show you a little bit of what the Margaritaville has to offer and how pretty it is. So come along. I know the point of this video was to show you how to get from Harbour Island to Nassau, but we're gonna treat it as a vlog and continue on and show you the Margaritaville and a little bit of Nassau that we're gonna do. I think tonight we're going to a restaurant called the Green Parrot. It's kind of like a little tiki bar, sports bar type thing, down the road a little bit. I have a friend here in Nassau, and every time I come here to visit him, we always go eat there. So I want to show it to Meli because I think she'd like it. But let's go get some food. I'll show you all the pool area, the pool bar, and all that good stuff. Before heading down to the restaurant here at the Margaritaville, Meli and I decided to head out and walk around the area a little bit. Now I will say the Margaritaville Resort, it's located directly next to the cruise port where the cruises dock up and then people get off the cruises for usually only a couple hours before they have to go back on the cruise. And so it is quite touristy, and there's a lot of stuff jam-packed into this one little area, which again is very touristy, which neither Meli and I are huge fans of, but it's still a pretty area and it's cool seeing it all. What do you think of Nassau?
No comments. Cheers.
In true Margaritaville and Jimmy Buffett fashion, we had to treat ourselves to some cheeseburger and paradises. Time to go get some ice cream now. We got our ice cream from Dairy Queen, which is not very Bahamian, but it is good ice cream. But we pretty much just hung out for the rest of the day, so that's about it for this video. If you like these kind of videos, if you like the Bahamas, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment down what you want to see, and we'll see you in the next video.